Hi, I'm Trina Wilcox, and this is Run Radio's Tell Me More. And today's guest, Eden Holt. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Thanks for being here. I'm excited to talk about your life coaching and your motivational speaking journey and how long you've been doing it and all about how people can get in touch with you. So tell me more.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me here today. I really appreciate this honor, this opportunity to share more about what I do and getting connected with more people in the community. So
Of
thank you for
course.
that. I am a life coach. I am a certified life coach. I experienced a little bit of a journey getting to where I am today, and I think that that gives me the opportunity to really relate to people a little bit more, a little bit deeper, because originally my plan in life was to become a counselor, and I
Right.
thought that that was something that my life path was leading me towards, and being able to help people live a more happy, fulfilling life was through going to school to get my degree in counseling and psychology. And as life would have it, I ended up raising a family. I started college and then took a break to raise a family, and I ended up going back, just a few years ago. And whenever I transitioned from a full-time college student to parenthood and then returning to school, so those adult services came in handy for me to help navigate what I wanted to do in my life, finding a purpose, finding fulfillment. And I found myself not really enjoying the idea of becoming a full-time counselor, which, in itself was a dream. It was something that I had always longed for and something that I felt very passionate about. I value counselors. I value the services that they provide, and really that safety net for so many people. But it just wasn't something that was on my heart anymore. And so I started looking into other programs, and those other programs were really calling me towards communications. And communications had always been something that I was very passionate about, very focused on articulating, very focused on using appropriate words and connecting with people through words and through intentions. And so communications was not just where my heart led me, but it was so fulfilling. It was so much happiness switching over. And so I did end up getting my degree in communication with a minor in psychology. And so I still have that background, and I still had that passion to help people, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with that. I was really struggling with, well, do I want to be a director of communications? Do I want to look at the nonprofit world? Do I want to, help an organization find their voice and to be able to display that to the public? I just could not find the perfect fit. And so I started looking at opportunities that would still allow me to connect with people on a deeper level and to help them move that needle forward in their own lives. And that's where life coaching arrived. It was kind of like it landed on my doorstep. It was an opportunity to dive into things that I wanted for myself and to be able to help people. And so I pursued my certification and did all of the training and all of the work to do that. And then I found myself really craving more education, more knowledge, more foundation for coaching. And so I pursued several other certifications along the way. But it's interesting that several of those certifications did not actually intertwine with any of the other ones. And so I was having a hard time trying to figure out how I would most effectively coach a person one-on-one or even in a group setting with only one particular style of coaching. And so I got to a point where I just said, okay, I'm going to take every bit of knowledge that I have and apply it in a way that I now have my own practice. I pulled it all together, and I use certain techniques from each of those coaching certifications, but I use very thorough understanding of how we as humans interact and how we connect to ourselves and how we relate to the world. And so I've had a lot of success building my practice simply because I took that initiative to pull it all together, tie it into one particular practice. And my clients find that they are not only are they finding joy, that's kind of my mission, helping people find, a joyfully connected life, but they're finding fulfillment and they're finding passion and they're finding themselves driven and inspired for themselves and to do more for themselves. And that is exactly what I was looking for. That is exactly the fulfillment that I wanted for myself and for other people when I started this journey so many years ago.
That's great that you were able to recognize the change that you needed to reroute a little bit. Can you explain the difference between a counselor and a life coach for some of us that are kind of like, oh no, what do I need?
Yes, absolutely. So, to be very clear, I am not a counselor. I am not licensed. I am not regulated by the state or the government. I do not have the education and training to diagnose a person. When a client comes to me seeking counseling, I often refer them back to a counselor because counselors do have tools and techniques that are very science-based, but also, that psychology, again, pulling out those diagnoses and or things that are really mental illness and things like that, that I am not licensed to practice.
Okay.
As a life coach, I take a look at the whole picture and we really dive into different parts of a person's life. And so we generally start with what I call the balance wheel. So there are 8 segments of a person's life as an adult, of course. Now, my youngest client was 18. So as an adult, we look at 8 areas of their life, from their mind, their body, their spirit, finances, their nutrition, how they eat. So it's a holistic picture. It's a whole picture of exactly where they are in their life, kind of a snapshot. And we break it down into priorities. What is the most important thing that they want to work on at this very moment? How do we get from point A to point B, C, and D? So we set goals. We set those priorities, and then we set goals and milestones and celebrations. But also, I help with accountability. My clients, they'll have my cell phone number, they'll have my email. Granted, I'm probably not going to respond at 2:00 in the morning, but they have access to communicate with me pretty much basically 24 hours a day. And when we meet, depending on what program a client selects, the 3-month coaching plan is a weekly meeting, a weekly session. 6 months, I allow the option for weekly or biweekly. And then 9 months, they have weekly option or biweekly. So when we meet on those sessions, we can sit for an hour, hour and a half, maximum 2 hours. Generally, at that point, it's more of just kind of regurgitating what we've already gone on. My purpose and my job, my role is to kind of summarize what we've done over the last week, and set tangible, real goals for the next week, to, things that we can follow up on, things that are going to move that needle forward. As well as I give my clients homework, which is interesting because many life coaches and/or mentors will give maybe a few things here and there that they would like their clients to work on. I give my clients homework every session because I want to know that they are committed to improving their own selves, their own lives. And in that interim, between last week's session and this week's session, they're thinking about what they're doing. They're working on improving. They're finding things that are really going to help ingrain that information and those tools, so that whenever our coaching time is up, it's in them. They have absorbed all of that information and all those tools, and they can go forward using those tools repeatedly, or even, not, some of the tools are really just to pull information out, so that whenever they do go out on their own, and we're no longer working so closely together, that it's in their everyday practice, that they already know what they're doing. They have that confidence, they have that understanding and that wherewithal, to know that they can do it, and they don't have to rely on me to guide them through it every single time.
I think that is a great characteristic of a good coach. Your goal as a coach is to give them the tools, whether it's training or mentorship,
Mhm.
to do it on their own. If they need to rely on you so much, if they have to stay put there forever, then it kind of makes you question, is this going right? So I think for the
Right.
people seeking out somebody, you want someone that is going to give you those tools. Always be in touch, but you should be, if you're moving forward,
Mhm.
being able to stand more on your own, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And it's not even so much just about standing on their own.
Mhm.
It's like they feel empowered to stand on their own. They feel empowered to go navigate the world better and more wholly. And having that boost of confidence and that self-esteem and that ego. Whereas many clients come to me frazzled. They're overwhelmed. They're struggling to find balance in their life. They're struggling to find that joy and that fulfillment, but also, you know, without diving into the psychology too much of things, sometimes people experience adverse situations in their childhood and young adulthood that create the stories that build blockages and create that wall that prevents them from really living their best life. And I don't want people to assume that coming to me means that we're going to sit side by side every single day for 10 years. We're going to dive in. We're going to do the work that's necessary to get them to a point where they can stand on their own, where they can, stand up and be proud of the work that they've done, and then go forward. Take that knowledge and take those tools and really excel in their lives, very authentically and genuinely connected to who they are.
What does some of the homework look like?
Yeah. So I have this it's kind of quirky. So I have this desire to see my clients excited. Okay.
Okay.
And so when I give a client homework, it's based on what we've gone over in that session.
Okay.
And so, for example, if a client is really struggling with letting go of anger,
Mhm.
or if they are really struggling with letting go of a situation that may feel like it's holding them back from really processing what's going on in their head and in their life. I have this, it's called, it's an emotions exercise. It's a
Okay.
self-awareness. These clients will leave their session. I'll send this homework and I'll say, I want you to find a space and time where you are just by yourself. There's no one else around. There's nothing that will prevent you or prohibit you from fully experiencing this exercise. And I will have them go through every emotion that they could possibly experience, and starting with anger, just imagining how angry they can get about a situation or about a person or about something that has happened or something that they experienced in their lifetime, pulling it out and really, really getting angry about it, allowing themselves to process it. It can be a little scary, right?
Yeah.
Anger is something that even as children, when we're taught that anger could look bad, or we don't know how to process anger, or we don't know how to release the anger appropriately, it then builds over the years, and
Mhm.
it turns into this fight or flight, basically. Do I really want to dive into this right now, or do I want to hide it? Do I want to hold it back for another time? And then another time, something else comes up, and then it could be anything. A tiny little trigger could bring up that anger, and then the whole world is just falls apart, right?
Right.
And so, coming back to the exercise, the homework. So the client has to start with anger, get it out, just, screaming or yelling, or just, if it's a situation where they feel like they need to physically move their body. So maybe running, or, if they're in a place where they can safely pound on something like a pillow or the ground, that's a good way to really release the anger back into to the earth. Um, and then we work our way through, so anger and stress and frustration, all the way through to joy.
Okay.
Finding that moment or the moments that come up as they're going through all of this. Um, some clients cry when they're angry, but some clients cry when they're joyful.
Mhm.
And so we get the full range. And so getting to joyful and embracing that emotion and that full physical response, and allowing ourselves to process it. Some people are scared to experience joy. Some people find that allowing themselves to just embrace happiness is scary,
Mhm.
because of all of the things that they've experienced in their lifetime, all of the stories that have been created, all of the, um, there's this saying, waiting for the other shoe to drop. So they're scared. They're scared to be excited about something. They're scared to look forward to something, because every time they do, in their head, something happens, something pulls them back. And so allowing them to experience joyful emotions in this safe space with themselves, um, it it allows them to release the emotion in a healthy way.
Mhm.
No one else is around to experience it with them. They can share it if they want to. They can share it with other people. They can open up to someone else about it. But in that moment, it's for them. It's all for them, pulling them back to who they are, and the living human experience that they have right now. And so that is one exercise that I will, or it's homework. So I will give this homework to my client, and they have to report back to me how it went. And sometimes we have to do it multiple times, so that we can really pull it all out, so that we can really allow them to sit in their body, to sit in their awareness, that emotions are not bad. They're not good. They just are. And we are human beings, and we're allowed to experience those, as well as releasing things so that we can then take on things in the future, future experiences, future happiness, future disappointments, and processing it appropriately right then and there in the moment.
Very good. Well, how can people get in touch with you if they are ready to get some life coaching from you?
Yeah. So I have a website. It is www.connectioneffect.com. And you'll hear me say connection all the time because it's my favorite. And then I also have, I welcome anyone to text me. It's 417-597-3581. And you can just text me and say, hey, I'm interested in learning more about you. Or I always offer a free assessment to kind of go over where a person is in their lifetime right now, what they would like to look at going forward in their own future, as well as, what it would look like for us to work together.
All right. Very good. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Would love to
Yeah.
have you back.
Yes, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. And of course I will always come back. And in fact, I do have I would love to have you on my show very
Wonderful.
soon.
I'd love to.
I've got some things coming up here within the next couple of months, and I would definitely like to connect with you for that. So
Sounds great.
I'll set. Yes,
Thank you very much,
awesome.
Eden Holt, life coach for Run Radio's Tell Me More. You can listen anytime, runradio.net.
Thanks, Trina.
Thank you.